Hello and welcome to the Boys in the Bus podcast. This is your bus home, Celtic 4, Dundee United 0. I'm Terry Robb and I'm joined as usual by Liam Greenlaw. Liam, we probably won't end up on Rangers Twitter tonight, unfortunately. We probably won't have 10,000 people watch our match review, and we probably won't have any more than about 150 in the live chat. But do you know what? I'm a hell of a lot happier doing this kind of podcast than doing the kind of ones that we've had to do over the last 5 weeks. What a difference a week makes. We sat here last Saturday, a little bit earlier than this. I said I was going to bed. I actually did. I just came off, and within half an hour I was in bed. My wife came home from the shops. She came up and she goes, "Are you sick?" And I said, "Well, pretty much, yeah." And that was it. I lay it, but I didn't really surface properly till I had to get up on Monday. I was going to say I was like a zombie, but I wasn't like a zombie. But I was just shell shocked by just not even the one game against Rangers, just by the whole 5 weeks, just how everything just changed from being hunky-dory 5 weeks ago to being close to being also rans in a title race. You've been on loads in the ensuing days. I think you and Phil did a reaction on Monday night, and then you were obviously on again with Johnny Logue last night. I caught up on that one today. Another excellent show. So rather than get you to cover old ground, I'll sort of give my quick summary of the week from my perspective.
Aye.
As always, if you enjoy watching the bus, give us a like, give us a subscribe. All of that's free. You can become a Boys in the Bus member. It's $1.99, and it just it doesn't get you anything extra. It just helps us keep going and keep diesel in the bus. If you hit the notification bell, you'll get a notification every time we go live. Still loads of pods on doing reaction shows at the moment, so you'll be spoiled for choice. But if you enjoy us, do all that good stuff and keep us, as Phil would say, in your life a little bit longer. Liam, before I just cover off the week, a lot happier today?
Oh my God, absolutely. I enjoyed that game. 4 goals, I predicted 2, but I have really enjoyed it. I thought we looked dynamic. We looked, our press was good. I enjoyed it. It looked like Celtic to me again.
We looked how we should look.
Aye. I thought it was great. I thought it was entertaining, and it was good to see giving the fans something back. I know you're going to get into it, but my God, some of the stuff that's coming about with Nancy this week, it just shows you how negligent this board was when appointing this guy. Like, he just, a lot of people wanted to give him a chance, but it seemed like he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way right for the start. And same with this Tisdale idiot as well. It's like, the board got it really, really wrong with these two. Like, you just tell how detached they are for Celtic and the common fan when these two chancers managed to not just get in the door, but got keys to the building. So, yeah, glad Martin's back. All looked good.
Smell the glove. We are still friends with Boise. We'll always be friends with Boise. Things just went in a different direction. Let me see. So last week, went to bed, expected to wake up to news that Wilfred Nancy was gone. Extremely disappointed that didn't happen. In hindsight, it probably had to go through Dermot Desmond and get his approval to do anything. I think guys like Michael Nicholson, despite being the CEO, he probably has to get permission from Dermot Desmond if he wants to use the toilet. I was still hopeful come Monday that something could happen. Just back into the standard working week. Other announcements did happen on a Monday. That was the day that Brendan Rodgers left as well. So I was still hopeful something could happen. I really couldn't. We couldn't have gone into one more game under Wilfred Nancy, and I'm in no doubt whatsoever that we could not have won this title under Wilfred Nancy. So much so, Liam, that I brought out the bin straight after that Rangers game. We've got 100% record on the bins on this post-match. So after the Hearts game, we brought it out, and Brendan was gone within 24 hours. After the Rangers game, we brought it out and Nancy was gone after 48 hours. Let me hope that we do not have to bring my blue bin out the rest of this season. I don't think we will, because I think under whatever circumstances of what happens the rest of this season, Martin O'Neill has gone over and beyond the call of duty. He would have been well within his rights to say, I came back, I helped you out, I wanted, or I was open to staying on, and you give it to somebody else. Why would I come back and help you out again? I think we're into the territory of statues to do what he's done at his age and come in and bail Celtic out. I know he hasn't won anything yet, and it might be different this time because he's here to the end of the season. Assuming he's here to the end of the season, are 2 trophies that will be decided under his current tenure as manager of the club. Does that change it a wee bit? I don't think so. I think Martin O'Neill's the type of guy, if he was in charge for 1 game or 15, he would be giving them all the exact same attention, and his desire to win would be unquivering. So we'll get news Monday afternoon. Wilfred Nancy's gone. Not surprised, but really pleased. And I fully expected it would either be Sean Maloney and the backroom staff, or it would be the same as we had with Martin O'Neill coming in, and then Sean Maloney, Steve McManus, and Fozzie. And it was kind of waiting to see did that transpire. And it was a wee bit confusing because the club put out a message that they would update in due course, but then quite quickly the update did come out, and it was Martin O'Neill coming back, and I was delighted. I had a real sort of just a sense of, right, this season is not lost. There is a chance. I'm not saying we're going to win this league, but we have a chance again. We have a decent chance. That's all it is. We've got a hell of a battle and a hell of a fight on here against Rangers and Hearts, and you can throw Motherwell into that if you want. What season they're having as well. So Martin comes in, and then the immediate thoughts turn to, can we get another player in? Can we get a striker in before the game at the weekend? And we'll touch a wee bit on that later, because that didn't happen. There was the rumours of Kyogo and all that kind of jazz. We obviously had the unrest outside the stadium. Nobody wants to see that, but that's just where things had got to last weekend. And last thing I really want to touch on was the Luke McKeown interview, because I think he got a lot of criticism for that. And there's a couple of ways that you can look at it, but the way I chose to look at it, and I've questioned the players through the Wilfred Nancy era, if you can possibly call it that. I've questioned them. I've asked the question: is he really asking you to do something that you're struggling to do? He's not asking you to fly to the moon. He's not asking you to do open heart surgery or brain surgery. He's asking you to get on the pitch, get at the football, and do what you should be good at. However, I think through the fallout and through what we've seen on the pitch and the players' reactions and all that kind of stuff, I think it became very, very apparent that he was having a real negative influence on that group of players. So much so, you can go out and boss Rangers, play them off the park one half, and not lay a glove on them the second half after he gets you in at half-time. Go back to the Luke McKeown piece. And you seen the week before where there were the clips of him and he was really, really unhappy. Seeing the players came out after that Rangers game and they were walking across and they were getting dogs abuse, absolute dogs abuse from the fans. And they didn't react, and they would have been told not to react in any way at all. But I think Luke McKeown's interview, when it came out, he's had enough. And I think he's representative of the players. They've had enough. And they probably felt that abuse they were getting from the Celtic supporters was mainly because of the manager and what he was asking them to do. And too often, I know people said it wasn't great throwing your manager under the bus. The manager was already under the bus. The bus had gone over him about 3 or 4 times, so I don't think it's throwing him under the bus. I think it just got to that point where somebody had to come out and be honest. I think that's why Callum McGregor stopped doing press conferences, because he probably was told, go on there and say everything's fine. And he goes, no, I'm not lying. I'm not going to lie to the supporters. And I just thought it was refreshing that McCarron was just totally honest, because people complain all the time about footballer interviews. Oh, they're just so vanilla, and they, it's all cliches, and they don't actually tell you anything at all. So if look at McCarron come out last week and goes, oh yeah, everything's grand, we're getting on really well with the manager, training's it's brilliant, and yeah, I think we're going to have a strong end of the season. Under morale in the camp is absolutely we're on cloud nine. If he had come out and said that, which is your standard footballer interview, people would have been going, why is he not telling us the truth? And then he comes out and tells everybody the truth. He's just had enough, and he tells you the truth, and then everybody's getting on because he's not showing loyalty to his manager. I was pleased to hear the truth, because after that, I was in absolutely no doubt that I was already in no doubt that he had to go, but I was in no doubt that the whole dressing room was gone, absolutely gone. And it's all brought us round to where we're at, Liam. We're back where we were 5 weeks ago. Martin's in charge with the backroom staff, and we're winning a game of football 4-0 at home, as we would expect to do. It wasn't mesmerising, but it was very, very controlled and very, very efficient, and we will go through the key moments in that. So
I think it could.
I'll let you respond while I get the team lineup.
Yeah, I think it could have been 8-0 today. I thought we were absolutely brilliant as far as creating chances went, and it went right for the kickoff. There wasn't any nerviness of getting themselves into the game. They came out like a team that had probably had a proper strategic pre-game talk and a halftime talk. Two things that you mentioned, Luke McCowan talking about, was saying, the articles that are coming out now with Stephen McGowan and people like that, saying that there was actually no in-game strategy. There was no tactical changes at halftime. And what you've seen today was a team that came out that looked like they had the Martin effect. They looked like they had those words of wisdom in the change room. Martin, Maloney, Fozzie, Big McManus. That's looking to me like a Celtic team again. Where you go out there and you're playing for the fans, and you understand what you are playing for the badge in the chest, for the fans in the crowd, all that. Going back to McCowan, I'm not a big fan of McCowan as a player right now. I think he started off really well, and I think he's dropped in form quite a bit. I don't think he was great when he was coming on, but when I see players going to the pressing, I would have much rather heard that come from one of the more senior players. And that could have been McGregor, Tierney, James Forrest, Ralston, guys that have came through Celtic, through and through. And I think that we would have taken on a much more than Luke McCowan. Because Luke McCowan coming on and complaining about the manager, and then not being able to, show up and look like he's actually trying to create change himself, or fit into a system, or go outside and try and just do something to make the team go better. He didn't see any of that from him. So now he's got rid of the manager. He's got Martin O'Neill in there. He came on for 20 minutes there. It's up to Luke McCowan to prove that he's not just all mouth, and that he can back this up. And going forward, he's going to be part of the team. Because right now, I think I look at other Scottish players playing that same position right now, and guys like Mulligan and stuff like that at Hibs. There's a lot better out there than Luke McCowan. He hasn't taken on his opportunity at Celtic and taken himself to that next level. And so I think it's up to him to see what he can do now, and then some of the rest of the players as well.
Paul McFarlane, friend of the show. Hi, Paul. How are you? 143 watching, only 31 likes. Come on, folks, give us a like. We're all Celtic fans on today. There's no Rangers fans on today. There's no Hearts fans. There's no Motherwell fans on to give us all abuse. Give us a like and all that jazz. Thank you very much. Liam, team lineup came out. It was going to be interesting to see what changes, if any, Martin O'Neill made. And the team came out, and we had Kasper Schmeichel still in goal, much to most people's dismay. Araujo comes in for his full debut at right back, and that is right back of a back four. Trusty in scales, that was always going to be the case. Kieran Tierney. Into the midfield, there's, I think the question mark was then going to be around, other than McGregor, who played, and it was going to be two from Hatate, Engels, Negrin, and McKeown. He's gone for Hatate. He can count himself very, very fortunate to get a start today after his cameo last week. Engels retained his place. Fair enough. He's been playing all right. Yeah, this was the interesting one for me. Because McKeown had played well for Martin on the right-hand side, I was wondering would he go back and put McKeown on the right, and he couldn't. You couldn't after his game last week. But I was just thinking, imagine they had done that, and if Wilfred Nancy had done that or something like that. I was trying to think what kind of changes in the lineup could Martin get away with that we would absolutely have lambasted Nancy for, but that didn't happen. And then really it was a question of, was it Maida up front with Tounekti on the left, or was it Maida on the left with Johnny Kenny up front? And he's gone for Tounekti and Maida. What was your thoughts, Liam, when you seen that going up just about an hour and 15 before the match?
Other than Schmeichel, that's sort of what I expected. I was surprised that the new boy, the Mexican boy, retained his place in that back four. I think he looked a lot better today in that position. You can see he's still trying to find his way into the team. It's funny, the commentator kept calling him Aruko. And I'm looking at his name there, and you can see the spelling that's up there now. It's like, where's the C and the K coming from? That's a J, it's not a C or a K. So, yeah, it was weird. Every time he called him Aruko. And, that was the team I expected. Sinisalo, I'm still wondering what's going on there. What does he have to do to get a game? I mean, we did get a clean sheet with Schmeichel and that, but he's really had nothing to do other than that one where Scales bailed him out. And, his distribution was a wee bit better today, but he seemed to have a lot more space because there was four defenders who could hit instead of the three. I think when we played three at the back, it really showed up Schmeichel for what we thought, he'd actually good play on the ground, as opposed to like Joe Hart or somebody like that. His distribution and his ability to find a man was poor. But today, you didn't see that because he had the extra guys in the park, the extra space to hit it to him.
Liam, do we have to kind of bow to the managers seeing these guys on a regular basis? I know we've seen bits of Sinisalo, but we haven't seen an awful lot. And he's looked okay. He's looked solid enough, but we couldn't. I don't think there's any of us could say he's better than Kasper Schmeichel. But he looks as if he may be a safer bet than Kasper Schmeichel at the current points in both of their careers. But why has he never ever started a game when Kasper Schmeichel has been fit to start a game under Brendan Rodgers, under Wilfred Nancy, although I probably wouldn't worry too much about that period, but under Martin O'Neill, again, in the initial period where he was back, and again today. If ever he was going to make that change, it was going to be today, after last week.
I think the optics is that Schmeichel's a team leader. He's a big. I imagine he's a big voice in the dressing room. I imagine that it's a lot more to do with his leadership qualities than it is with his goalkeeping qualities. If you go just of what we've seen, so we don't see Sinisalo in training, but we've seen Schmeichel on the pitch, and we've seen him, to his detriment, caused us a few points and with some of his goalkeeping and that. I was saying yesterday that he doesn't look fit. There was pictures of him at Lennoxtown, and he looked overweight. I was saying, well, maybe he's wearing extra layers or something under his jersey, and it's just an optical illusion that maybe his lot. I'm just seeing him looking a bit heavier than what he is, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think we're probably going to wait for an injury or something to see Sinisalo, and then at that point the pressure's a lot different. And when it happened last year, when Kasper hurt himself with Denmark and, threw that shoulder out, I thought Sinisalo did absolutely brilliant. He was there for the big games where, he could make big saves and all that, but he was also making saves where, he only had one or two things to do during the game. I think that game against Livingston, those first two goals, I don't think he was saving that first one. The second one, I think he could have done better on. He showed a wee bit of rust there, but he did look like a keeper that had been on the fringe for a long time. And, I don't know if Kasper's got a thing where it's like, get me game shape. I'm trying my best, and he's had a heart-to-heart with the coaching staff and Stevie Woods and that and Martin. Yeah, if they've got the trust in them, I've got the trust in them then. But I still think I'd like to see more of Sinisalo because, he's just one of the goalkeepers that you could show up against us in the past and, in the future. It's someday another one that maybe got through our fingers because we didn't give him the chance. Kasper's on the last part of his deal right now. So I think we should be making some sort of overtures to seeing what Sinisalo's going to be like, of whether he's a guy that immediately steps in to replace him, or if there's an opportunity to go for another goalkeeper like the Croatian boy that we now know is available for £4 million, Levorik.
Yeah, I can't say it's gone down that road again, but there have been links, constant links with the third or fourth choice goalkeeper at Man City. I think Ortega, you call him. His name keeps getting mentioned, but
okay.
But in terms of recruitment, you and me aren't in a position to sit and guess what on earth Celtic are going to do in any position. But we'll see how that one plays out. Stephen McGonigal. The one thing I will say in Kasper's defence is once you get to 40, it is very, very difficult to keep the weight off. I will vouch for that. A couple of other comments there just to pick up. Skulzo, I am not tanning any vodka. I am now on day 10 of the old dry January. So we'll put that up there. Day 10 of dry January, day 10 of the transfer window. I did say last week I would stay off it until Wilfred Nancy was gone. I was quite pleased then that he was gone on the Monday, and then I just said, you know what, I'm going to try and see this January thing out. So I'm a third of the way through. I tell you what, I am absolutely gasping for a Guinness. I really love Guinness, and I'm just dying for one. And my wife says, why don't you just go and do one of the zeros? But I don't want to go down that route. I want to just hold off for the full month, and then that first one will just be so sweet. If it can stay through to the end. I think I will. But anyway, back to the important stuff. Celtic game kicked off, and kind of, it was never going to be anywhere near what we were getting, that basketball type game. It wasn't going to be like that, and it was controlled early on. We dominated. I've seen possession stats at various stages, 85-15, but it was reasonably quiet. We were in control. We were dominant. I had that feeling of reassurance, and again, I've had that feeling since it was announced Martin O'Neill was coming back. I felt definitely going into this game, we will win that game. And I feel with this backroom team and Martin O'Neill, we will probably win most of the games that we should win. But under Wilfred Nancy, it didn't matter who we were playing. There was a hell of a lot of jeopardy and a reasonable chance that they would give us trouble. And the points were never going to be secure. Even when you're 4-2 up at Livy, you're still worrying. And we needed a real late show against Aberdeen. I think we'll win most of the games that we should be winning. You can argue we should win them all, but that's not going to be the case. We started okay. Yang hit a header after 15. Yang's now doing things that Yang has never done for Celtic. If you think back, he had a chance with a header today. He also had a header at the back post. He was putting his head in where it hurt last week. Didn't come up front, but he's tackling back, Liam. He's chasing back. And again, if you look back, remember to the Rangers game where I think it was it Matondo scored from way out, and Yang was very, very poor in trying to stop him. In fact, he didn't try to stop him. But I've noticed a real change in him in this last couple of weeks. Is that because we're into day 10 of the January window and Yang still wants to go as he did during the summer? I don't know. But whilst he's here and whilst he's showing that level of application, I'm more than happy for him to hang about.
We were talking about that today during the game as well, and it's like, do you want him to go now? You know, and it was absolutely unanimous. Like, no, we've got to keep Yang. Yang's actually looking like a creative player. I noticed it as well in the interview after the game with CARRMAGEDDON as well. He seems to have he's put on a bit of muscle. So whatever he's doing in training or whatever, like, he looks physically stronger, and he just looks more confident. And I think that's maybe, you know, we talk about people coming from a foreign country into a place like Glasgow, you know, being thrown into the mix. And he's been here a couple of years, but I think you're seeing the boy maturing from a boy into a man at that point. And, you know, I think he's realising that he's a professional football player. He's also knowing that South Korea is going to be in this World Cup as well, and he probably wants to be a part of that side. And I think that looks what you're seeing right now. You're seeing that a guy that is motivated, and I don't know if it was a move or to, you know, get to, you know, he must have been very disappointed with that, but he's shown up. He's not put the head down and sulked at that. He's turned it around in that way. And, you know, we're really quick to slate. I'm very quick to slate players who I think are phoning it. And right now, and Yang's, I think he's playing really, really well. And I think it would benefit him to keep this good run going and stay at Celtic and get himself so that he's starting in, USA, Canada, Mexico for the World Cup, because you can't ignore him the way he's playing right now. I loved that. His goal, the way he cut inside for that was another new thing as well. Coming into the centre and then getting a shot away. You know, we usually see him going to the outside, and he has a lot of success with that. But he's moving in. I thought you could see he was starting to form some sort of partnership with both Ingles and Arroyo. Aruko. You could see that it was starting. They were finding those wee triangles, and it was great. He was great at taking the ball in a tight space, not panicking, and looking for each other, and all playing those 5-yard passes within there, which gave them a lot of success in it. And it really put Dundee on their heels, you know, where that ball was moving fast and they didn't have a chance to settle or lunge, or, you know, you didn't see them diving into many tackles because the ball was away too quickly for them to that. And I think that benefits Yang game, and the more he gets an understanding with Arroyo and Ingles, I think he's better he's going to get. Yeah, I'm well happy with him today.
As with all wingers, Liam, they can be hit and miss, they can be in and out, but I think it's fair to say he's playing with a bit of a swagger at the moment. And again, that might be trying to work his move. But if he's working his move by doing well on the pitch for Celtic, happy days. I just hope he stays for the rest of this season, helps us get back into this title race, and then if he wants to move on at the end of the season, fine. That's fine. He can go with my blessing. The only real moment of concern, I know Dundee United, they had a slight chance before we scored, but the guy wasn't able to get the ball down and get a shot away. But they had a little chance in between our two quick-fire goals. It was more than a little chance. And it was, again, one of those moments where somehow, from an absolute nothing situation, there's a guy running straight in on our goal. And if that happens under Wilfred Nancy, that ends up in the net. Just everything that could end up in our net under Nancy ended up in the net. However, today, Liam Scales pulled us out. Again, it was trusty, slack, trying to pass across the back four with the outside of his foot, kicks it straight to the Dundee United player, who's then straight on goal, and Liam Scales gets back and makes an excellent challenge. That was the only real moment of concern that I had. And like I say, under Nancy, I think that ends up in the net. And do you know what? Dundee United probably go on and score another 2. And that's just the way the story went under him. But we do make it 2. Arnie Engels. What I like about this is that he's involved in the move twice. It's him driving with the ball. It's him feeding it to Kieran Tierney. It's him continuing his run, getting on the end of it, and a really cool finish.
That was textbook. I loved that goal as well, Terry. I thought the same thing when you seen that Ingles had one of his better games, and I always get on because we keep saying how technical he is and all that, but that was a technical finish. He took that. He knew where he was going for that ball. I think it was it Tounekti got it to the line, or was that Tierney? I think it was Tounekti that passed it out, took him to the byline and came out, and just hitting it first time and placing it rather than taking a big swing and stuff that we saw some of the others having a go at today. Just picked that spot, and I thought it was a brilliant goal. It's exactly the type of goal I expect to see for an attacking Celtic team. Starting with the vision in the midfield, putting it to the wing, but not just keeping it out there, actually getting something from the wing where we actually have an end result. And that was taking it to the byline and getting it back into the middle of the box. And we watched Henrik Larsson, on that thing he was on through the week with Keane and all that, and they're talking about Martin O'Neill and his philosophy, and Henrik just imitated him perfectly. Says just get the ball in the box, and that seems to be what happened. And all our goals today were coming from that. Just get the goal in the box, just get the ball in the box, see what happens.
Well, when you had Henrik Larsson up front, all you had to do was get the ball in the box.
Oh, I know. Then pick it out the net.
1888 CFC comes in with a really good point, clean sheet. In the games that Martin O'Neill has managed this season domestically, take away the Europa League games, but in the domestic games that he's managed, the only goals that we've conceded were penalties. One against Hibs and one against Rangers in the semi-final. They're the only goals that we've conceded, both from the penalty spot. We haven't conceded a goal from open play in the domestic games that Martin has managed. And that's going to be crucial because we need to address this goal difference, because I think we have to be prepared for a possibility that this league title could conceivably be settled on goal difference. It's a possibility. And one thing that is in the back of my head is that Martin O'Neill has lost 2 league titles as Celtic manager on the last day on goal difference. And I just don't want that story rewriting itself again. So what was really important today was that we scored the 4 goals, but also that we didn't concede any. And that's a gain. That's a net gain of 4 in the goal difference. And I hope goal difference doesn't decide it. I hope it's done for us long before then. But I've got a feeling just this season, and absolutely anything is possible. So that's us 2-0 up. We win at halftime, and again, unlike the week before when we were leading at halftime, the result's not in doubt. It's not going to happen. It just won't happen with Martin O'Neill in charge. Dyson Maeda, he'd missed a couple in the first half. He continued to miss them in the second half. We really, really need a centre forward, but we'll pick that up at the end. We'll cover off the rest of the game. Manager made a few changes, brought on Donovan for, I'm going to call him Araujo, and Negrin for Hitae. Just want to touch on Araujo then, Liam. So we got an hour out of him today. We got much less last week. Was never going to judge him on last week, not even going to judge him on today. Obviously, it's a very, very small sample size, but he looked decent today. What I liked about him is I felt his passing was crisp. I felt as if he was really zipping the ball into players. And the fact that O'Neill has come in, and under O'Neill was he used Donovan quite a bit when he was there. and I thought he might revert to that again. So he's obviously seen enough in the last 5 days to throw the lad straight in. How did you think he played, and what kind of awareness do you have of him from his time in the MLS, if any?
I don't remember seeing him in the MLS. I've seen him play for Mexico against Canada and USA and that, and he stands out with the blonde hair and that. You always get the players that do. I thought he looked okay today. I thought he looked like he was trying to build up a relationship with Yang and Ingles. It worked good in the triangles. There wasn't anything exceptional about him yet, but you can see that there's something there, and you can see that he's still, he's trying to run the rust off. I mean, the tackle that he got the yellow card for, I mean, he was well late with that, but you could see as well, I like a fullback that goes in and leaves a mark as well, and it's not frightened to get involved in the game if it means take a yellow card. I mean, we've had plenty against our players, where you let players know they're in a game. And that tackle was a wee bit late, but I don't think there was any malice in it at all. We've been warned, right, that he gets a rush to the head. The last full game we played, didn't he get sent off? But let's see what we've got. I mean, there's somebody there. I still have a lot of hope for Kobe Donovan as well. And maybe there's a chance we could see they two splitting it. I don't know if Martin has any plans with Ralston or that. I mean,
hopefully not.
He's ran his race, I think. We've got everything we possibly could get out of Tony Ralston. I think he's in an exceptional career at Celtic, but I think you're probably going to see him playing with a Dundee or a St Johnstone or St Mirren or somebody like that. St Mirren seem to like a lot of old Celts. He'll probably end up in one of those teams next year, I think. But I think the future's bright. I really like Donovan.
Negron finds the net within 3 minutes of coming on. Benjamin Negron does what Benjamin Negron does. He picks up pockets. He finds himself in the right place at the right time. The ball ricochets. It's not luck. He finds the right position. He anticipates. I watched him quite closely just for that period that he was on, that half hour. What I liked about him and what I noticed was he's always screening. He's always left and right, and he's constantly aware of everything that's going on around him. And I think that awareness allows him to anticipate what's going to happen and to find himself in the exactly correct position for how the play plays out. And he's Marmite in terms of, you think he's a very good player, you think he's useless, you like him, you don't like him. But what you can't argue is his numbers this season. He's our best bet of a goal. And like I say, 3 minutes in the park and the ball's in the net, and another top corner one. A really neat finish.
Aye, big IKEA. He's great in the box. Just collapses when he's outside.
I heard you said that last night.
But I was screaming up and I thought he took it. It just seemed like in slow motion when he got that ball and he trapped it, and to get it into the net. And I honestly thought it was going over the net for the angle they saw, and then I was no doubt about it. When you seen the replay, he actually had it. He was calm and he was actually collected about it. Unlike Diazan, where he looked like he was trying to trap the ball when it came across, rather than if it hit off any part of his body, he could have had a goal earlier. But again, Negron just been able to have just to stop it, have a look, pick the corner of the net he was going to put it in, and there was no way MD was saving that. And that's the sort of goals. He's still doing the goal celebration with the ear. I don't know. Am I allowed to still be annoyed at that? I don't know. Maybe it's just harmless. I don't know if it's what he's trying to do with the fans there with that one, but I'd definitely be looking for something.
You know what would be worth looking at, and somebody in the chat will probably know. Did he do that celebration before he came to Celtic? I think he might have, but I don't know for sure. But if anyone's got any clips of Negron playing for his previous team and did that celebration, let us know. I think there's a chance. I don't think he's just brought that in since he came to Celtic, but I could be wrong. I might be wrong on that. Then for the second time in this game, we hit them with a sharp 1-2 Within another 5 minutes, it was 4-0. This time it was Dugout. This time, not even he could miss. Tounekti, again, we'll touch on him. I thought he was bright. Has his critics. I've stood up for him. I just felt he'd bought himself a little bit of goodwill during that period at the start of the season where I felt he was the only shining light. Other people said, nah, he looked good because everybody else was terrible and he's been found out and defenders now know what to do with him. I thought he was good today. He gets in, he gets a shot away. And as I say, the keeper spills it and Dugout has the simplest of tasks to fire it into the net. Tounekti, give me your thoughts on him today, just on today's performance.
I think he could have edged Yang for the player of the game. I thought there was something that he looked like the Tounekti that showed up the first couple of games of the season. And when we were all buzzing about him and we're like, all right, this guy's got something. He was creative and he had more than the one move. What I think that sort of hurt him, when we started going through a rough patch, is he was just doing the inside move. He was taking the ball and he was turning back in. Now he's really striving for that byline. Looks like him and Tierney have got some sort of a collaboration going as well too, where Tierney and that they're taking turns doing that. But anytime that ball went in deep, I was impressed by his tenacity to use his physical strength to fight off the defender and still take it into the byline and get that ball across. He's getting into good spaces. I think as the game went on, you saw him come better and better. His movement to the inside, I thought today that was starting to pay off as well, as you could see where he got himself right into the space to take that shot. And and fortunate for Dyson to get the rebound. He was very unlucky not to score himself with that one. A wee bit more power, and that was in the side of the net. The other thing I liked about him as well is when he was up against his man in close quarters, he's doing something now as well where he'll take the ball and he'll go into a guy and he's pushing himself off the man. He's no frightened to go in and get that physical contact while he's still got the ball and hugging the touchline. When they come to close him down, he's going at them, but he's also pushing himself back off the man as well when he's when he's in that close proximity. And whatever he's putting in his couscous, keep putting it in. It's working.
That was it, Liam. That was the end of the scoring. Although we weren't given much opportunity to score an injury time goal by Nick Walsh. 2 minutes added time, given normal stoppages and quite a few substitutions. You don't really see 2 minutes anymore. The norm's kind of is 4 upwards. Seems to be when Celtic are playing well and scoring goals, 2 minutes and stuff like that appears. I mean, it's splitting hairs, I know, but 2 minutes? You never see 2 minutes anymore. Never.
Yeah, I mean, that was Nick Walsh being clever as well. You've seen that as well too. Some of the fouls that were getting pulled back as well. He was trying to be a factor in the end of that game of not letting us run away with it. And yeah, that's something that has to be addressed because there had to be about 6 different changing opportunities in that second half. We had two goals with 2 goal celebrations. Yeah. I think one of their men came off injured, but they also had about, I think, all the substitutions. We weren't substitution at the same time. We did our subs, they did their subs. So that's about 4 minutes added there right away. For him to be going at, just bringing it down to 2 minutes, that's denying us an opportunity to score at the end of the game. And, as you said earlier about the goal difference coming in, all these wee things bite us in the end, and you want to see the team, have that opportunity to score. I know the game's done and we've won and all that, but there is an opportunity to get goal difference out there. And just play the game. Don't give your interpretation of the rules. Just play by the rules. It's that easy. That's what you get hired for as a referee. You're following the rule book. Out there with your own interpretations.
Okay, Liam, 45 minutes in, let's do another 15, then I'll let you go because you have put a hell of a lot of work in this week on this boss. I want to get your thoughts on something that I came across today. It's just around set pieces. And it came up in one of the other chats that I'm in that we haven't scored a direct free kick domestically for 5 years. Now, I don't know if that's right or not, but I can't think of one domestically. We had the Jota one against Madrid, but we don't do enough with set pieces is the start of the point that I'm making. And then look to see how many goals we'd actually scored as a result of a set piece this season from free kicks and corners, not counting penalties. And we have scored 1 goal from a free kick or corner situation. When I look at the other 2 main challengers, and I'm leaving Motherwell out of this. I'm not dismissing them, but I don't have the data on them, but I've got the data on Hearts. And this might not be exactly right, but it will be close enough that it gives you a flavour of where I'm going with this. Hearts have scored 8 goals coming directly from a free kick or corner situation, not directly into the net, but coming from that move. And Rangers have got 12. Wow. What is the problem with set pieces at Celtic?
I think it's Callum McGregor. I think if you look at Callum McGregor, it's a frustrating urge sometimes you see him.
Do you mean to take it short?
Oh, he's kicking the ball before it's hit the ground half the time. He'll take that ball, he'll put it down, and he'll. It doesn't matter if the player's marked. It doesn't matter if there's people around about him. He's just got this desire to get the play moving again. And I think right now he's got to be a little bit more discerning about looking around the pitch and seeing where the ball is and is there an opportunity to set something up. I'm hoping that's something that Martin O'Neill and the backroom staff bring into it. Bring into the game that we're actually going to start benefiting from corner kicks and free kicks and that. The game is changing again where, when we played with Ange and it was all about getting the ball moving and get the ball quick, that was fine because we had everybody moving in sync and all that. And it built up towards that where it seemed like a good tactic. Now, you're seeing a lot of teams, as you said, like that are benefiting from corner kicks, long balls into the box, long throw-ins, which is another one that we don't do as well. I mean, I'd love to see, I always look at when we're under pressure and a team, gets one of the dubious free kicks in a really dangerous zone, or you see a guy lining up for a long throw-in, it's squeaky bum time. And, you're thinking, oh, Christ, we're going to lose a goal here because that's where we lose goals. And to see other teams benefiting from that, so they score goals, I think that's something that we need to put into our strategy and our tactics as well, so that when we do get these balls in some of these places, because the one thing where there was one where Callum McGregor took it just far too quickly and we got nothing from it. In fact, I think in the build-up, it was the one that Yang had to track back and did that brilliant tackle just in their centre circle where he came back, and he's glad to see the crowd recognised that and applauded him for it as well. You'd mentioned that earlier, I know. But yeah, I think we're not taking advantage of these opportunities. And when you don't have a striker that's scoring and you don't have, we're not taking all the chances, you need to create as many as you can. And for the amount of players that we have in that pitch that's supposed to be technically good, we're no see it when it comes to free kick. Like, I didn't even know who our free kick specialist is.
Oh, it's Ingles, isn't it?
It's Negrin and Ingles.
Yeah.
Going up. There was some wild balls today as well. I mean, Hatate had one into the top stands, and then there was ones with James Forrest just hit one that looked like
Tounekti banged one as well.
And what?
Tounekti had one as well that hit those guys.
He had one that, like old David Turnbull shots,
Those figures that I shared, I think they're in the league, because I remember Johnny Kenny scoring a header from a corner in the semi against Rangers. And then I think we've had another one that we've had in the league. But yeah, it's a massive difference just looking at those numbers against the other two teams. And I think it's certainly an area that we have a hell of a lot of room for improvement. But let's hope that plays out in the remaining games that we have this season, the remaining 17 in the league. Then tomorrow brings about a couple of away games for Hearts and Rangers. Hearts are at Dens. There's a Celtic song called Albert Kidd, and lyrics go something like, "A visit to Dens is still eerie today," because of what happened in that game where Hearts blew the league title against Celtic 40 years ago. I'm hoping that visit to Dens Park tomorrow, there will be some ghost of the past that rise again, and we start to eat into that advantage from them. I don't hold out an awful lot of hope of Rangers dropping any points at Pittodrie. I've seen bits of their game during the week. Aberdeen were, well, albeit I'm going to say Aberdeen were dreadful. They did have 2 or 3 really, really good chances, and they didn't take them. Didn't even look like taking them. But go back to the point there on the screen around the free kicks about having no height in the squad. There's a wee guy at Rangers who's about 5'0", and he gets on the end of so many set pieces and scores headers. So I do think we lack a bit of height, but I don't think it's all about height. Any hope, Liam, of any of those two teams dropping points tomorrow?
I'm looking forward to a big. Is it Simon Murray that leads the line for Dundee? He always looks dangerous when he's playing against us. It always looks like he's up for it. And I hope he has a colossal game tomorrow for them. And if he does, I don't know, every time I've seen him, I look like, oh, he might be an all right signing just to fill the gap. But see, when you're starving for strikers and you're starving for signings, everything starts looking like steak, and he's one of the players, him, Bowie. It's like, all right, I don't see us casting our net any farther than Scotland right now. To get a striker in with Simon Murray, with Kieran Bowie fit the part. We'll find out tomorrow. So I'll probably watch. I don't know if the 2 games are on at the same time or not, but I'll be trying keeping an eye on them anyway. I enjoy watching Scottish football anyway. Opposed to the English stuff, and just you're looking to see as well. Is there any players playing in Scotland right now that could fill a role at Celtic? And I think that Simon Murray looks like a good player. I don't know how old he is. I think he's one of the guys that just looks older than he is.
He's well on, but he obviously got an international call-up very, very late in his career. I mentioned him right at the very end of the summer window just because we were in that absolute desperate stage, and I think I said something along the lines of, we're at the point now I would take him because we're not getting anything else, and I would take him. He hasn't had the same season that he had last year. I don't know if he's been out injured and stuff like that, but let's hope if he's playing tomorrow, he does the business. Let's touch Liam on the transfer piece, because as we said there, we're 10 days into this. I was at pains to say we need a centre forward on day one. We had a year to find one. We weren't able to find one during the summer. We haven't been able to find one ahead of January. There's clearly no plan. The plan is get to January. Then once the window opens, we'll bring in a replacement for our head of scouting that left ages ago, and we'll just wing it from there. And that is completely and utterly unacceptable. The work should have been done, and somebody should have been ready on the 1st of January who would be clear number one centre forward for Glasgow Celtic and go into that team and improve us immediately. And it's an absolute outrage that hasn't happened. We're 10 days in. We look no closer to solving that issue. We're in a crisis. It doesn't feel like it off the back of that game today, but the scenario that we're in at the minute is a crisis situation. And what tends to happen in any workplace, construction, offices, whatever, when there's a crisis, when you're behind with the work, which is essentially what Celtic are, the tendency is to throw as many bodies as you can. And it kind of feels with Arajo and the Ivorian guy, who I don't think he's been properly announced yet, but it feels like that one's close. They kind of feel like the signings to me are, let's just get bodies in and hope that that's just a scattergun approach. Just get them in, fill the room with players, and hope some of them are good enough to get us over the line. And what tends to happen again outside of football in that scenario is all these people come in, they don't have the skills. You end up having to spend loads of time trying to get them up to speed, and you go backwards because it just becomes a mess. What I think we need is 2, 3 bona fide first team players come straight in and improve the team. And I don't see that happening. I think one of them, obviously the key flashing red one, is a centre forward. The other one for me is the second one is a centre back. I don't think we can go this season with Trusty and Scales. I don't trust Trusty, pardon the pun, and Scales is limited. I don't think we can go with those two. I don't feel safe with those two. I feel even less safe with the backup, which is Dane Murray, and we're not going to see Carter Vickers this season. Centre back is the second one for me. And see the point I'm at now. See, even if these guys aren't permanent signings, I genuinely don't care. We need to get from A to B, A being where we're at, 6 points behind, to B being champions. So I don't even care if these guys aren't permanent. They just have to be really good footballers who are significantly better than what we've got. If we get those two, I'd probably be happy. Forward and centre back, I'd probably settle for that. 2 real good ones, as opposed to 7, 8 of what we normally have. Guys that can't get a game anywhere, and £2 million wingers, which we just stockpile and build up. Where are you at? What would you want to see happen? The third one then, I think, would be a right winger. Although given Yang's form, it wouldn't be the end of the world for me if we didn't bring in another right winger. I don't think. If Yang stays, and he stays in that kind of form, and James Forrest stays fit, you could probably limp through at right wing. But for me, the other two are absolutely non-negotiable: centre forward and centre back.
Centre forward for sure. I mean, you're so starved for a signing at this point. You know, I'm fantasising in my head that, it's easy to slag off the board, and everybody should be slagging them off as well. But I don't want to go around this again of how crap they are at their job and what they're doing right now. Back in my head, I've got some sort of fantasy that maybe in this perfect world, ideal-wise, we're waiting on a striker to finish the African Cup. Maybe a big Nigerian or something.
We can't wait on them. We can't wait on the African Cup. We need them in now, now.
I know that, and that's the thing where I'm thinking, okay, so should we be looking at Scottish players to come in?
Yeah.
And if we are, it's like there's not even a rumour. There's no, any leaks of anybody that's identified of any quality whatsoever.
Well, there was one rumour this week.
Aye, but he wasn't a striker. He was a defensive midfielder and a right back, which we've already got 5 guys playing in that position.
Kyogo.
That's terrible. I don't know if
partly scored today.
Who scored? Kyogo.
Yeah.
Oh, good for him. It was a boot up the arse he needed. I was surprised. I think it was just one of the things where they just assumed that, all right, well, this will, that lack of imagination, that was all for. Kyogo coming back, but then as soon as there was any reluctancy for him as well, it was like, fuck him. I didn't want him back at that point. If you have to be convinced to come back and restart your career when you're, absolutely playing crap, and, that was a lifeline. If he chooses to stay there and then, thinks he's better off in Birmingham, he's probably on really good money there as well. So, best of luck to him. But that's your chance done. You'll not be coming back. Hopefully we don't be asking him a second time. He's with Chris Davies as well, who, I guess he didn't have any involvement with him. He had left when Brendan left, and there wasn't the overlap with Brendan Rodgers, who never came back. But yeah, it's that was the rumour, but I really wanted to see us go for somebody that can show up and start tomorrow and play in our front line, that can lead, and it's not going to be as wasteful as what we have up there right now, because the amount of chances we're wasting, we should have been ahead. And even with Wilfred Nancy, if he had a quality striker, even with his, daft Nanball or whatever we were calling it, he probably wouldn't have lost the amount of points that he did, because there certainly was plenty of chances. And even Johnny Kenny, when he came back on the day and he had that breakaway, and I don't think he was offside on that. I think if they'd have looked back, he would have been onside. And even that, I think he should have done much better with. The keeper made a good save and all that, but he did sort of telegraph it, and he had plenty of room. Could have chipped him, could have went round the other side, whatever, but you went to the goalie's strong side and he got to it. And, I was hoping that would hit the back of the net. But then sort of a part of me is going, oh no, if that hits the back of the net, are they going to go, I think we're fine with strikers. Dyson scored, Kenny scored, job done. But yeah, despite the 4-0, you're right, we 100% need a striker. I'd love to see us be able to identify and have somebody signed and coming in at the beginning of this week, and maybe see them against Falkirk on Wednesday.
Jimmy Brown comes in. Trusty reminds him of Julian. I've said that as well. For the same reasons that you've given there, Jimmy, bullied by big physical strikers. Okay, so Kyogo is a no-go as far as we're aware at this point. So who's the centre forward going to be then, Liam? We've been linked with two guys that are playing in the Scottish Premier League at the moment, and both of them hit the net today in the same game. Kieran Bowie, who has been linked with Celtic in a couple of windows now, scored for Hibs, and I will give this my best shot. Mazwin Nisi scored for Motherwell. He is getting a lot of rave reviews as well at the moment. Do you see any of those two as a serious option?
We're looking for a star man, Terry. We need a hero just for one day. I think I like Kieran Bowie. I don't know. I think he's got potential. He's got potential, right? And but I don't know. Are we signing just another Johnny Kenny? Can he do it on a big stage? He can do it with Hibs, but can he do it with Celtic? Can he do it with that amount of pressure on him? And if he does, and he gets that chance, and he does start scoring goals for Celtic, he's got a pretty good opportunity to end up in North America this year for the World Cup, considering Scotland don't have a real prolific striker at this point, other than maybe Shankland, and unless we get Harvey Baines of that. I know it's going off in the Scotland stuff, Terry, but I think Bhoys is an opportunity for him to come and shine at Celtic. And I'm all for giving Scottish players a chance. I like to see Scottish players playing with Celtic, and I'd love to see a big, prolific Scottish striker. When was the last time we had a big Scottish striker that could fill the net? Mark Burchill was probably the last hope, maybe. And Mark Follingham maybe before that.
Funny you should mention Fozzie. I just that
Fozzie.
Was Fozzie in his Celtic days. He looks a wee bit more Kasper Schmeichel-esque round the waist than he did back then, doesn't he?
He's not been training with intensity. He's been
he was coasting. He's been coasting.
I'd be lucky if he could get 3 days out of 5 with him right now. But I think I like him. I like him as well too. It's like, you look what Martin's brought in, and you look at the players there. The one thing Nancy didn't have was he didn't have any Celtic guys on the bench other than Gavin Strachan. And I don't think Gavin Strachan's a Celtic guy. He's grew up in England. Peter Burrow, his mob. He'd probably support us when his dad was there, but he was probably grew up in Aberdeen, Man United, Leeds United fan, and he's just very lucky to be at Celtic now. But when you looked in and you saw that bench today, and I seen Maloney, and I see Fotheringham, I see Stevie Woods back, and you see McManus and all that, that to me looks like we've got Celtic interest at heart. And I think what Martin O'Neill does is he's very much, I think he's an avatar for the club of what our values are and what we represent. just when you watch going back to Larson on that programme through the week, you just see the values and the stuff that have been instilled in Celtic that I think we've lost. And I think we lost a lot of that with Rodgers as well. I don't think Rodgers is a real Celtic man. He talks the talk. But what you're seeing now is you're seeing that, there is that intensity. And I like that because it's starting to look like a Celtic team and sound like a Celtic team. And I think that's a big part of our culture, is like to remain that, to have that identity. So many times I think, when you bring in so many foreign players, you lose that Celtic identity. And now you're seeing it on the sidelines. And for that reason, I think I would try and see if we can fit Bowie into our team. We say up top, we need a striker right now, and there's no sense being cagey and trying, being Tamfi still game and send him out there to negotiate the deals. What we need right now is we need to, I work in film, right? And when you get big problems and that, the producer used to say, what do you want to do? And it's just like, can we throw money at it? And usually when you throw money at a problem, it tends to go away. And we've got plenty of money and we've got plenty of problems. Let's start cancelling some of each other out.
Okay, next up for us is Falkirk during the week. It's going to be a tricky assignment. They went to St Mirren today and won 2-0, which is an excellent result, albeit St Mirren are struggling. They didn't struggle against us in the cup final. That one's up next, and then next Saturday is the Scottish Cup game against, is it Ogden Talbot? Is that what you call them? Yeah.
Talbot, aye.
Those guys. I dread to think what that would have felt like getting into that game if we hadn't changed manager. But we have done. It's a positive day. It's a positive result for us. Will we have a striker for Wednesday night? Probably not. Probably not. I don't hold out much hope on. Martin says everybody's working very hard, so let's hope that's true. Liam, I'll let you go after that. You talked about film there and TV. Do you remember an actor called Henry Winkler?
Aye, the Fonz.
The Fonz. Well, we've got our version of the Fonz. He is called Fozzie, and he has brought back the happy days to the Celtic Park training ground and dressing room. Thank you to everybody who's been on. We've had over 200 there for the vast majority of that. Thank you so much. You have so many choices post-match. Thank you to those who have chosen us. Thank you to those who come on later and listen in on record or tomorrow or early in the week. Thank you to every single one of you. Liam, it's been an absolute pleasure. Really, really enjoyed that one. It just feels great to come on here and not be absolutely down in the dumps and be able to sit and chat Celtic with a smile on your face. And once again, Martin is back. The Ferrari is lit up. Let's see if he can get this thing up to maximum speed ASAP. Once again, thank you very much. Cheers, everyone.